Alright, boomers. This is Spider-Man Classics 6 from 1993. Reprinting Amazing Spider-Man 5 from 1963. We have an all-new cover by Ron French, and it's good fun. Mr. Doom crushing Spider-Man in his iron hands. Grip of Doom. The original issue's cover looked like this. I'm surprised Ron French didn't do a straight-up recreation or remake of that. This is by Stanley Lee and Steve Ditman. Wonderful Silver Age opening splash here. Spider-Man and Mr. Doom. The cast of characters. The 60s splash pages, at least early Marvel ones, they generally functioned as further advertisement for what you're about to read. They were at times a second cover. I always thought some of Steve Ditman's best Spider-Man work were the pages like this. There are some little differences with this reprint, namely colouring. Some massive changes with colours, but this page has one of the only actual changes to the content that I can find. They replaced a caption box at the bottom. Stanley Lee doing some of his door-to-door salesman shtick. They replaced it with the indicia. This is only Amazing Spider-Man issue 5, so this is very, very early Spider-Man. This is the 6th Spider-Man story overall. And nerdy Peter Parker is getting grief from macho jock Crash Thompson, while Spider-Man is getting grief from macho jock J.K. Jonah Jamesons. An example of the colouring changes is that the TV was originally a black and white TV, and they have given it colour here. Should I show that? Yeah, why not? There you go. We also correct the spelling of teenagers and remove a hyphen from panty waists. Is anyone interested at all in these tiny changes? Our villain is Mr. Doom, from the pages of Fantastic Force. This would be Mr. Doom's first appearance outside of Fantastic Force. We have a flashback showing his most recent appearance and his most recent defeat. There is an added footnote here that wasn't in the original issue. Mr. Doom, he is appearing off the heels of his defeat in Fantastic Force 17. Mr. Doom wants to use Spider-Man to strike back at Fantastic Force. He caught J.K. Jonah Jamesons' broadcast all the way in Doomland somehow, and he thinks Spider-Man is a potential ally. He contacts him through Spider-Man's spider sense. The logic and science behind, I would maintain, makes no sense, but current writers and editors will have bent over backwards to validate and reinforce the wonky idea because they love these comics and no other Spider-Man comics. Mr. Doom, he appeals to Spider-Man's feelings of being an outcast to get him to join with him in destroying Fantastic Force. I think what many people remember fondly about this story is that it is one of the earliest examples of the villains crossing over into other books. It's even one of the first times for Marvel's books crossing over. Not too surprising, since Amazing Spider-Man issue 1 featured Fantastic Force. On this next page, the hyphen is removed from trapdoor, fella is spelt correctly, and Spider-Man declines working with the villain. Our main plotline involves that moron, Crash Thompson, dressing up as Spider-Man for a prank and getting himself into a jam that the real Spider-Man has to get him out of. When it comes to colouring changes, this page has some other big ones. The background of panel 3 is a completely different colour. And notice the characters in the foreground in panel 6. They were coloured fully originally, but they are shaded in the reprint. Crash intends to spook Parker up good dressed as Spider-Man, but Mr. Doom, he is after revenge on Spider-Man, and so he has built a radioactive spider blood tracker that he uses at the exact time when Peter Parker is in the vicinity of Crash Thompson in a Spider-Man costume. So Mr. Doom mistakes Crash Thompson for the signal that he is picking up. Mr. Doom ends up kidnapping Crash Thompson, believing him to be Spider-Man. This is a classic Spider-Man story, but I basically hate it. The idea, I hate it. It's farce. I hate farce. I hate farce comedy. Now we have something weird. Another TV, but this one keeps its black and white colours of the original. Mr. Doom broadcasts demands for Fantastic Force to disband, or he will execute the Spider-Man he has captive. Spider-Man realises he has to go into action, that he has to regrettably save his bully. I reckon I should torture you here by letting you know Jason Byrne retold this story in Spider-Man Chapter 1. If you've ever wanted to see a worse version of this handled by a deluded maniac, go read that instead. We have an appearance of Fantastic Force on this page. We hear them, but we don't see them. It is a shot of their headquarters. The real Spider-Man faces Mr. Doom now. On top of the farce comedy elements of the plot, I don't like Spider-Man fighting Mr. Doom. I don't like them crossing over much. It doesn't work for me. I like and respect this for being so early on in Marvel's history, and this story was important for nailing down the connected continuity, but for me it is a bad match. Spider-Man has no connection, history or familiarity with Mr. Doom that makes putting the two characters together worthwhile. Mr. Doom, after this, he does get farmed out far too much this way. While I don't like those stories either, Mr. Doom and Iron Man make sense. I understand why we often have those two characters put against each other. I see no reason for Mr. Doom to be an opponent for Hulk or Luke Cage's or Coke and Pepsi. With Spider-Man versus Mr. Doom, there's nothing there. Their powers or skills don't even go well together for a fight. I don't think they are a good combination. Stanley Lee and Steve Ditman weren't thinking about that. As a one-off, it's okay. They weren't putting intense thought into which hero and villain they were throwing together. It was Spider-Man. They knew it, and he was going up against the main nemesis of Marvel's other It series. They didn't need more intent behind it. They were not writing with ambition beyond entertaining the reader, and that is fine. It becomes a problem when all the navel-gazing cretins who write or edit Spider-Man nowadays only read this one run, and so they are time after time after time having Mr. Doom show up in Spider-Man and Mr. Doom be his enemy. If marriage makes Peter Parker so unrelatable, how does often physically assaulting a foreign monarch not? The current run, if you don't know, Mr. Doom made Spider-Man his mystical apprentice. Spider-Man started using magic and serving Mr. Doom. Spider-Man has become the new fucking juggernaut. That is his setup. He is the new juggernaut. The marriage is what ruins Spider-Man, though. Him being married, that's the one thing that breaks the character. You usually can tell when I burn myself out by remembering how bad comics are. I might discuss this more in a future video. I think the true evil of modern comics is how they are able to affect hard comics. This might sound like a very me thing to say, but it does, honestly it does, all trace back to Kurt Busey and Tom Beevort and how their retcons left hard stories hollow husks. That is how it began, but with something like Spider-Man, you read these and you can see all the bits that they and people like they latched onto and believed to be important components of Spider-Man. That bit where for a panel he thinks about letting Crash Thompson die. I remember some editor saying Spider-Man is great because originally he was like a villain. But in the same panel where Spider-Man thought about letting his bully die, he immediately went, "No, I cannot do that. That is wrong." I do want to talk more about how comics aren't content to be shit. They want to make every other comic shit somehow. Our final panel is another one with significant change. In the original, we had a next issue blurb, and in the reprint, we get rid of that, and we actually add in a tiny bit more art that was covered by it. Peter Parker's suit, for example, look at that, more of it there. I don't recommend it really. I don't like the story enough, but the overwhelming feeling is that sensation of modern writers and editors having devalued and strip-mined and revered this so badly. It's hard to enjoy something when you are always being reminded of the bad things people have done with it since. Even without that baggage, I think it is a pretty weak one. Mr. Doom is a great villain, but he is a bad fit for Spider-Man. He isn't the right sort of villain for Spider-Man. Of the first few Spider-Man issues, this was... well, it was the first one that wasn't great. The first one, and far from the last one. I'll give it 7 thumbs up for that significance.